Did you know that deep beneath the bustling streets of Manhattan, there's a national treasure that belongs to Germany? Today, we're going to dig into the high-stakes debate over Germany's massive gold reserves and why, exactly, they're stored thousands of miles away from home.
So just how much gold are we talking about here? I mean, get this. This isn't just a few gold bars in a briefcase. We are talking about 1,236 tons of pure gold. And here's the real kicker. All of that gold, a massive chunk of Germany's national wealth, isn't in Frankfurt, it's not in Berlin. Nope, it's sitting in a vault at the New York Federal Reserve. So you've got to be asking the same thing I am. How on earth did it get there? And maybe more importantly, why is it still there? All right, to really get this, we've got to rewind the clock a bit. The whole story actually kicks off right after World War II. It all started back in the 1950s with what the Germans call their Wirtschaftswunder, their economic miracle. See, the country was exporting like crazy and building up these huge surpluses, which were all settled in gold. Then, boom, the Cold War hits. Fearing a Soviet invasion, Germany figured, hey, maybe keeping all our treasure in one place isn't the best idea. So they shipped a big chunk of it off to what they saw as safer locations, New York, London, and Paris. And even after the gold standard collapsed in the 70s, the gold just stayed there. It wasn't until 2013, really after a lot of public pressure, that the German central bank, the Bundesbank, finally decided to bring some of it back home. Okay, so if this setup was fine for decades, what's the big deal now? Why is this all of a sudden a hot-button issue in Germany? Well, it boils down to two really powerful forces colliding. So, on one hand, you've got this rising geopolitical fear. You know, with all the shifting alliances and tensions, a lot of Germans are starting to wonder if the US is still the safe bet it once was for their national wealth. And on the other hand, you have straight-up economic temptation. Gold prices have just gone through the roof, making that stash under Manhattan worth an absolute fortune. So all this pressure has kicked off this huge debate in Germany, and it's basically split into three different camps, each with its own idea of what to do. Let's dive into the arguments. All right, camp number one is pretty simple. Bring it home, and do it now. Folks like Michael Jager are basically saying, look, in a world this unpredictable, you just can't leave a core national asset in somebody else's country. For them, this is all about national sovereignty and basic security. Then you've got the second camp, which is taking a much more pragmatic approach. Their argument, sell it. I mean, gold is at an all-time high, and Germany is facing massive bills for things like infrastructure and defense. Commentators like Chris Bryant are arguing it's just common sense to cash in. Selling even a little bit could make a huge dent in the national debt. And then there's the third argument, which is a bit more sophisticated. They're saying, hold on, don't do anything just yet, because the very role of gold is changing. The idea here is that gold is becoming less of a simple commodity you buy and sell, and more of a powerful financial tool. Think of it as the ultimate collateral. You can use it to back loans, stabilize the whole financial system, all without ever having to sell it. And you know, that third argument, it's not just some abstract theory. If you want to see this hidden power of gold in action, all you have to do is look at the German central bank's own balance sheet. And believe me, the numbers tell a really surprising story. So, get this, in 2024, the Bundesbank reported a massive loss. We're talking nearly 20 billion euros. And this was mostly because of these bond buying programs they were part of. Now, on paper, that sounds like an absolute train wreck, right? But that's not the whole picture, not even close. Because while all that was happening, while they were reporting those huge losses, the bank's actual net worth, what it's fundamentally worth, didn't go down. It went up by a jaw-dropping 50 billion euros. So how is that even possible? Okay, let's take a look at the data straight from the Bundesbank's report. See that bar for 2024? That little orange slice at the bottom, that's the 19.2 billion euro loss we were just talking about. But here's the thing. Despite that big red number, just look at the total height of that bar. It absolutely dwarfs the previous years. It shot up from around 200 billion to over 250 billion euros in just 1 year. So where did all that extra money magically appear from? You guessed it. It was the gold. This next chart shows what they call the revaluation reserve for their gold, basically what it's worth on paper. And look at that jump. It went from 193 billion euros to over 262 billion in a single year. That incredible surge in the value of their gold didn't just cover the losses from their bond program, it completely blew them out of the water. And this, right here, is the perfect example of gold's new job. It's not just sitting in a vault, it's acting as a giant financial shock absorber for Germany's central bank, and really as a critical safety net for the entire euro system. So, this brings us right back to where we started, to this huge dilemma. Germany is staring down a choice where, honestly, every single path has a major risk attached. Let's just lay it all out. Option 1, bring the gold home. The risk? You could set off a serious diplomatic firestorm with the United States, your biggest ally. Option 2, sell it off. The risk there? You might be cashing out your ultimate financial insurance policy at the exact moment global instability is ramping up. And option 3, do nothing. Well, that risks leaving a massive chunk of your national treasure at the mercy of another country's unpredictable politics. You know, when you really get down to it, this whole debate over Germany's gold forces us to ask a much bigger question about the nature of wealth and power itself. In an increasingly fractured world, what is the true purpose of gold? Is it an asset to be cashed in for today's needs, a financial shield to protect against tomorrow's crises, or something else entirely? The answer will define Germany's financial future for decades to come.